Hello, everyone. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. How are you this first day of November? I can't believe it's November already. I really don't know where the entire year went, but especially October just flew by in the blink of an eye. So hopefully you guys enjoyed trick-or-treating last night. Did you hand out candy or did you go around with kids or grandkids and enjoy the festivities? We actually do something kind of odd around here. We have what is called Beggars Night, which happens on the day before Thanksgiving or the evening before Thanksgiving. That's Thanksgiving, Halloween. I've already moved on to November. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. But it happens, Beggars Night happens the night before Halloween, and that's when we do our trick-or-treating, which is always a little odd. Actually, truth be told, my husband and I missed Halloween the first year we moved to Ankeny because we didn't know it was the day before. So we had all our candy ready for Halloween, but everybody was coming the night before and we didn't have our light on or any of that. So anyway, that's what we did, but the kids had fun. Let's see who's coming in here today. Hello, Robin in Wisconsin, and Christine is here. Hi, Debbie. I know you're with me, right? How can it possibly be November? It's going to be Thanksgiving before we know it. So I was just fast forwarding when I let those words out of my mouth. Hello, Belinda. Martha's here. Awesome. Christine and Rita. Are you guys excited for the release today? We've been kind of sneaking peeks at it. And if you tune in all the way through, we've got a special guest joining us. So that will be coming just a little bit later, but I wanted to give you a few heads up. So as you know, last week we started moving our facility. So part of our team is now fully up and operational in our new building, and that is the most important team to you probably is our shipping team. So all of our fulfillment is moved over to the new building. We have started shipping again as of yesterday, so everything went very smoothly, and we have more parts of the business to move and some hiccups, a few things with furniture not being ready, and we can't move if we don't have a desk to sit at. So we're in a little bit of limbo with some other pieces, but our print operation is starting to move today, and then stamp manufacturing will be after that, and hopefully next week we will get our product development moved over, and in a couple of weeks you might start seeing a new studio space. Behind me will be a new space for me to do live videos. So we're making a couple of little changes, not a lot, but you will see a little bit different look. So anyway, that's the update there, and thank you for all of your good vibes that you've been sending as we've been moving, and appreciate your patience too last week as we kind of shut down our shipping for several days in a row. So all right, are you ready to hear about this cool release that we have today? I'm super excited to share with you a crafty collab that we have done with Brutus Monroe. So let me show you these cool graphics so you guys can see the fun stuff that's coming your way. We released this morning at 9 a.m. and so it is currently available on the website. We're going to talk about all these things with our special guest. The man himself, Christopher Allen, is here, and I'm going to bring him on in just a second so that he can talk about his stick and stamp mat and how we kind of were able to make that happen for Tailored Expressions in our own rainbow color combination with a few of our own fun things as well. So that is definitely a tool that everybody needs. Let me see if I can get the next screen up here too. Okay, so I also want to show you, in addition to the stick and stamp mat and some of those fun accessories that go with it, we also have some new stencils. So we are obviously, or maybe not, if you haven't heard of the stick and stamp mat, then maybe you aren't aware that it works amazingly for blending with stencils. And I'm going to let Christopher talk a little bit more about that, but because they work so well together, not only do we have the stick and stamp mat, which I will bring in here for you to see, we also have stencils to go with it. So we've got a few new designs. We have our artisan feathers. You can see them used on several of the samples here in the background. We also have the mini slim swirly roses, and we have a layering stencil, mandala layering stencil. So this is 3 layers that makes it really easy to create a mandala in multiple colors. You can see this beautiful one that Susan created. So lots of ideas to share. And then I mentioned accessories. So with that stick and stamp mat, you might want to grab a couple of accessory items. We have the TE exclusive cupcake scented matte mist. This stuff smells amazing. I love it. And this is to clean your stick and stamp mat, which Christopher will talk about in just a second here. And then we have a couple other accessories that he designed to work perfectly with that stick and stamp mat. We have the Blending Buddy for A2 cards, and exclusive to TE, we have the Blending Buddy for mini slim cards. So we're going to go through what to do with these Blending Buddies and the stick and stamp mat, how to clean it, what to use it for. So let me just bring on our special guest for today. Let me see. There he is. Oh, I have to unmute you. Just a second. Sorry. Okay, you're on.
Hi, everyone. Hello, hello.
Hello.
I'm really excited to be here with everybody today to talk about the stick and stamp mat in this crafty collab that's been a long time in the making.
Yes, super excited that you are able to join us today and share with us all of the things about the stick and stamp mat, which there were a lot of things I learned. So Christopher joined us at Stamp Joy this year, the in-person event that we held just a few weeks ago. And I learned a lot from your demo. So I needed you to be here to share all of your tips and tricks with everybody.
Absolutely. So shall we get started?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to flip over my camera. Yep. Okay. So this is perfect because I apologize that I keep on looking over to the left, but that's how I can see chat. So hello, everybody that's saying hello. The chat's going by so very quickly. But today I wanted to show you quickly some tips and tricks on how the stick and stamp mat works. So just by the very premise of the stick and stamp mat, it's a sticky mat. So what you can do with it is you can blend your stencils, you can line up sentiments, and you can use it to just stick and stamp. So the way that it's generally used is obviously in a stamp positioning tool. I unfortunately don't have my Tailored Expressions version of this here with me today.
I also noticed you don't have your teal Misty.
I know, that's what I mean. I don't have my Tailored Expressions Misty here with me, but I saved that one for home. So this obviously fits directly inside of, I'd say probably 90% of the stamp positioners that are out there. This is the most basic premise for it. You can use it with or without a magnet. I prefer to use it without a magnet, but again, it's kind of your own personal preference. But I like to use it mostly outside of the stamp positioning tool. So just a quick overview of what it is. So with the Taylor version, which I only have one of, and I was telling Taylor it's framed and going on the wall at Brutus Monroe. There's Taylor's version. So it's very, very similar. The only real difference is she has added a matting layer line in hers, and then also a stencil line that is actually highlighted on hers. And of course, hers is bright and pretty and rainbow, whereas the Brutus Monroe version is just black and white. So we are the 1920s version, and she is the 2020 version because she's in full color. So the way that it works is the outside area on ours is this Folkwave print. On Taylor's, it is a rainbow print, and this is not sticky by design. So the reason I designed it this way is I wanted you to be able to pick it up, and the natural oils from your fingers would not remove the sticky from the outside. So you have a nice area to pick up your mat. The lines on here obviously are going to show you where your paper is going to be positioned. And also you have a clear cover. Do not get rid of this clear cover. This clear cover is very, very important. It will protect your mat when you are not using your mat. When you're cleaning your mat, it is very, very important that you do not use any harsh abrasives on this mat. All you need is a paper towel and your mat mist. You can also use a light dish detergent, but very little dish detergent. You do not want to use like Dawn Power Wash because it has alcohol in it. If you would, I say the rule of thumb is if you don't want to use it on your skin or your face, you would not use it on your stick and stamp mat. I'm going to use the Squeaky Clean Mat Mist that we have, which is hydrangea. But you can see here that the mat is very, very sticky. It has suction on the mat, so I have to kind of pull it forward because it will, it like sticks to this grid for some reason. But you can see that it's very sticky. And then all you do is give it, I'd say about like, I don't know, 3 spritzes. And it's not going to be sticky anymore. It's not sticky at all. But all you have to do is you take just a paper towel and you are just going to kind of, I say squeegee, but you're just going to very gently move your paper towel over top of your mat. Very gentle. We are not, we're not trying to scrub it. We're just removing the liquid from the top.
What did you say, Stamp Joy? We're not washing a boat.
Well, yeah, we're not washing a boat. We're very gently washing off the mat, and then within about 30 seconds, it will be completely sticky again. So, and I always say that
on the type of paper towel that you're using, is there, you know, some paper towels maybe have more fibers to them. Do you find
you want the cheapest paper towel you can find? I say you want a gas station paper towel. So it's literally the cheapest paper towel. These are the paper towels that I use. They are literally, I think that I can't remember where I got these from. It probably was some sort of distributor but they're like the very thin, you don't want the luxurious paper towels. You just want something very inexpensive. Now the Tailored Expressions, I believe it's your stamp cleaning wipe, or what do you call it? The chamois, or
it's our cleaning cloth. It's a microfiber cloth. Yeah.
Yes. So that works. Or was it, what was the one that is printed on it? I used that at Stamp Joy.
Yeah, that's the cleaning cloth.
Okay, yeah. So that one's great because it doesn't have any fibers on it. So I use that a lot at Stamp Joy. You don't want to use something that's fluffy. You don't want to use something that will leave any residue behind. That's a no-no. Now, if you get ink on the outside of your stick and stamp mat, which may happen if you don't have the blending buddy, do not scrub it off. It's okay. It should have ink. It should have wear and tear. If you don't want ink on it or you don't want anything on it, buy a second one. Go to the hardware store, get a hammer and a nail, and put it on the wall. You can look at it all the time. It does not. It'll be beautiful. It won't have a single mark on it. But by nature, you are going to stain this mat. You are going to get little specks and things on it, and that's just the nature of it. It's at such a wonderful price point that if you want a second one, because you get this one all mucky and yucky, grab a second one. I always say grab 2. Don't ever buy just one stick and stamp mat because you'll leave one in your stamp positioner all the time, and then you'll use one for stenciling separately. And I think that's pretty much the premise of it. You don't want to use anything sharp on it. Oh, also very important. Never, ever, ever put tape directly on your stick and stamp mat. This is already sticky. You do not need extra sticky. So if you are using your blending buddy, which Taylor will demo for us, and this one already has the blending buddy on it, what you will do is once you put your paper in here, if you want a little extra for your stencil to stick on, now obviously you don't really need that because you have tabs, but if you want extra, just place a little bit of pixie tape or whatever tape is your preferred tape just up here at the top. Don't ever put it on the sticky because you will potentially remove the sticky once you do that. Also, another tip, when you first get your stick and stamp mat, it is going to be at the stickiest it will ever be in the life of the stick and stamp mat. When you are removing your paper, you just want to gently curl your mat whenever you are removing it. Now, this one, I've used the life out of it. So, I mean, it's at the perfect sticky factor, but all you do is curl it and then your paper will come right off. Do not worry. If your paper gets stuck to it, all you have to do is curl. Do not use a pokey tool. Do not use a scraper. Just curl your paper and it will come off in one direction and then curl it the other way and it will come off in the other direction. If your paper gets stuck to it, you're probably using a paper that is too low of a pound weight. Taylor's paper works beautifully on this. Our paper works beautifully on this. We've tested so many papers, but if you're using an inexpensive paper, you are going to run into trouble. It's like if you put the cheapest oil in your car, you're not going to get a lot of mileage out of it. you need to use a more luxurious paper whenever you're using the stick and stamp mat, or you're going to run into trouble every time. I mean, we get photos of folks that, you know, they use like a 65-pound weight and it just tears up. You have to use good paper on your stick and stamp mat.
So everybody who normally watches my lives will get a kick out of this, but don't use typing paper on your stick and stamp mat.
No.
And the reason why they get a kick out of that is because I call it typing paper. And I didn't even live in the typewriter era, so I don't know why. I think I call it like printer paper or like computer paper.
Printer.
Yeah, I need to get that shift in my brain.
Typing paper is good. Yeah, typing paper. I'm going to start saying that now. I like
it. Well, at least I won't be alone then.
Yes. Well, so does anybody have any questions for me?
Yeah, and I can kind of go through the comments too if you're not able to see them as they're
going so fast.
Got lots of love for your hoodie, so everybody was peeping the TE hoodie that you had on.
Oh yes, yes.
And it looks like lots of people already have one and are loving it. So loving the non-sticky edge. Let's see what else. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them up now that comments have slowed down a little bit and we can see them a little bit better. So yes, thank you for all of those tips. I think the mistake I made, well, I made a few mistakes when I thought I knew what I was doing with my stick and stamp mat. The first one, I think I was on your event. I was live at your event. I'm surprised nobody told you. They were like, you should use your stick and stamp mat. So I was like, hey, I have one. I'll go get it. And I went and I did my blending on it. And then I went to get my paper off. And I was like, oh, I need a dye pick to get my paper off. And then they were like, don't. And so
no.
That curling the mat is a helpful tip that I didn't think of when I first started using it.
It's very flexible. I mean, it can touch the other side. So I think a lot of folks get very nervous that because a lot of people compare this to like the leading mats out there that you use in a cutting machine. It's very different. We had this tooled in a different way because obviously you can see the size of this is much smaller than one of those other mats. Those other mats naturally curl because they're much bigger. This mat, I mean, you can curl it. I mean, I used the one at Stamp Joy at least 300 times. I did that demo and it stayed sticky not only the entire time, but also there weren't any cracks. There weren't any breakage. There wasn't any issues at all. I mean, you can curl it this way. Sometimes people like to curl it, but again, it has a lot to do with the paper that you're using. 9 times out of 10, when we receive any emails about paper sticking to the mat, it's because they have purchased, the deal at one of the big box stores where you get 10 packs of 25 for $8. That paper is inexpensive because it is inexpensive paper. So you just want to make sure that you're using really, really great paper on it and you won't have any of those sticking issues.
So I've got a question, and maybe you have this covered on your website. Someone's asking if there are any plans to have an unscented mat mist for those sensitive to scent.
Yes, we have it. Yeah, we have it available at brutusmonroe.com. It's actually surprisingly our best-selling mat mist. So we have it in a refill, and we also have it in just the regular standard size. But we cannot keep it in stock. I think we just replenished it yesterday. But the unscented mat mist is wonderful. It's just our regular mat mist without any type of scent in it. And again, it has been the most popular. But I guess it's just because some folks are sensitive to smells. Yeah. I personally love to smell a cupcake whenever I am spraying my mat. And I was very hungry during my demos at Stamp Joy. That's for sure.
Oh, it does smell so good. But if you do have sensitivity to scent, then it sounds like Christopher's got you covered, Tracy. You can get the unscented on his website. Jenny's asking if the mat mist can be used to clean stamps as well.
It can. So the mat mist by nature there's a different formulation of detergent in it. So, and I use the term detergent very loosely. It's just, you know, kind of a scientific term. But the soap base that's used in it is a much less, it's much less than what is in like our squeaky clean formulation. It will clean your stamps, but you have to be careful, obviously, with like the deeper ink stamps. It's not, I mean, I don't want to say careful, but it's not going to clean them completely. But again, you're not going to clean a lot of those stamps completely anyway, because a good ink will stain your stamp, and vice versa, a good stamp will stain. So it's going to be a little bit, you're going to have to do a little bit more scrubbing. But that leads me to my next point, and I'm glad you brought that up. You do not ever want to use the Tailored Expressions blue cleaner on this mat.
No, don't do it.
No, the Tailored Expressions, what is the name of that, Taylor?
Stamper Spritz.
Stamper Spritz. You do not want to use, I mean, Stamper Spritz is one of the best stamp cleaners. I mean, it will take sunlight off the wall, but you do not want to use it on your stick and stamp mat, because you will absolutely 100%, without a doubt, remove the adhesive from your mat. Now, if you want, I mean, if you want a non-sticky mat, that's the way to do it. But do not ever use that on. So just, you know, put that to the side. Use it on your stamps. Scrub them. You know, make them look sparkly and beautiful again. But do not use it on your stick and stamp mat, because you will absolutely remove your adhesive.
So I don't know if you'll remember this, but you did demo at Stamp Joy for about, you know, 8 hours or so.
Yes.
Do you remember the ink palette that you used? Someone's asking, they were looking to purchase the same inks that you used in your demo for Stamp Joy.
So I took a picture of it because everyone was asking that. So I'll share that photo with Taylor. But it was a very, very pretty palette. So I took a photo, and I think actually Charlie might have taken a photo of it as well. But I'll set a reminder to send it to you. But yeah, I took that picture about 10 times, because every time someone asked, I was like, did I take a picture? Did I take a picture? So I will share that. The only color that's not included is purple, unfortunately, but eventually I did use macaroon or macaron, depending on how you say it. That was the purple that I used.
Did you do that just for me?
I did. So I said that every time I demoed. I said, unfortunately, there's no purple that's being used in this demo because Taylor is watching. So it was, but we had a lot of fun with the non-purple palette.
Yes, I do love the macaron color too. So
yeah.
Okay, well, had a few people asking if we're going to demo the mat. So we're going to switch camera angles now and get you guys off of looking at my face. And I'm going to move down to this area. And maybe Christopher, if you're up for this, you can tell me if I'm going wrong anywhere, or if you have any additional tips or tricks as I talk through the demo with the stick and stamp mat. So this is the Tailored Expressions version that we have showed you, with the rainbow around the outside that is not sticky. And then it has the little protective cover on it. Another great tip, not to throw this away, or grab yourself a sticky note or something, because when you peel it off of here, it's easy to lose. Kind of like those clear stamp backer cards that seem to disappear on your desk. So a lot of times I'll just keep a sticky note on the top of it so it's easier to find it when I need it. Okay, so then this middle portion of the mat is sticky. Yay, sticky. And Christopher pointed out that we've got two different sets of guides on the TE mat. So here we have the horizontal guide for A2 is the outer, and the inner line is A2 layer. And then the same for the vertical orientation. And then this teal portion of the mat is a 6x6 size. So most stencils, as you know, are created 6x6, and so that allows you to easily find where to place that stencil to make sure that it's perfectly centered over wherever you have your cardstock. So now let's talk about your genius invention of the Blending Buddy. So I know we've got lots of people that are kind of interested to see how that works. So the Blending Buddy was a thing of necessity, right? It was kind of an invention of necessity.
Yes, there was a lot of folks that were we received so many emails whenever we first launched the stick and stamp mat, because I taught everybody how to blend on their stick and stamp mat. And the problem was, we have some heavy-handed blenders, which is I fall into that category, and folks were blending the sticky off of the mat. So the Blending Buddy was introduced because we wanted to protect the outside area of the mat when we are not actually using it for like a full-size stamp. If you use a 6x6 stamp, obviously you are going to want to use the full surface area of your stick and stamp mat. But when you're blending, you don't need that full surface area, because when you're doing it on an A2 size piece of paper, instead of, blending on this big 6x6 piece of paper and then trying to figure out where you're going to cut it down, you no longer have to do that.
So what you will do with your Blending Buddy, it also has these wonderful notches that are cut into it, and those are to nest your little 6x6 stencil into, just like this. And then there's two at the bottom of this piece as well. So your stencil sits within the Blending Buddy just like this.
Yep. And it will also depend on, not to interrupt you, but a side note, it depends on the way that your stencil is also designed. So there are some stencils that this will not work with because it will cut off the edge of the stencil, like the Mandala. That in that case, that is, a focal centered stencil. So it won't work with that one because you will cut off, your edges. But if it's like just a background stencil, it works beautifully.
Awesome. Okay, so what we're going to do is take that Blending Buddy that is made of the same material as a stencil, and we're going to place it down onto our sticky mat first. And then we're going to take our A2 size paper, and we're going to stick it into the opening of the Blending Buddy. And Christopher gave me a little tip before the video that it does actually, now that I've done it this way, it does work a lot better to put your Blending Buddy down before you put your cardstock down. Then you can just see a lot better exactly where you need to place it, and you have less chance of having any kind of white space opening here between your paper and your mat. So then we're going to take layer one of our mandala stencil, and like I said, you can slip this into the little notches of your Blending Buddy. And obviously, like he said, this design is going to get cut off a little bit on the side, but if you're making an A2 size card, then you'd end up cutting your paper down anyway. So you can also use, when you have the Blending Buddy in place, you can use an adhesive to hold the stencil down. So if you feel more comfortable just having a little bit more of that strength so that your stencil doesn't have the ability to shift, you can also grab a little bit of, I have purple tape here, which we all know is old. Okay.
But it was the best.
I know. I have a few little rolls left, but I've kind of been sneaking to my audience that we have something new coming. And I think they've all guessed what color it is already. But kind of our own version of the purple tape. So I'm using Lollipop first, and the great part about this then is that it's holding my paper in place, my stencil is secure, and gives me a lot of confidence in getting a perfect blend across that piece of paper.
Mm-hmm. It'll be the most beautiful, most deepest blend you'll really ever get, because when we're blending, we're always terrified of, did I tape it down enough? Did it shift? Is the paper underneath attached? And you'll notice once you start using this tool, you'll wonder how you ever blended before. And it makes it so simple. It's really foolproof whenever you're blending, and it's just beautiful.
All right, so we did a little bit of pink. Let's go into some yellow. We've got lemon meringue next. I can't quite get it all on the screen, but you guys get the idea. So pink and yellow, Christopher, your quiz of the day makes
orange.
Yay, you passed.
Whew.
You can continue to be a crafter.
I was going to say, could I keep my company?
You can. I know I didn't tell you there was going to be a pop quiz today, but I made it easy for you. There's one more question coming. So our yellow and blue
Green.
Whoops, I just grabbed the green brush. I need the blue brush. We'll go in the middle here.
You were secretly giving me the answer without giving me the answer. She was like, you might not get this one. Let me grab the green brush.
Yes, hint, hint.
Yeah. Whew, okay. That's a real friend.
So that was layer 1. Now we're going to move to layer 2. My goal with this is to move from kind of red, orange, yellow, green, blue from the outside edge to the center. So actually, I'm just going to use the tape. I think that'll be easier. Do you have a preference? Do you use the little notches, or do you find yourself just going for tape?
I mean, I use the notches whenever it's a background stuff. Like if I'm using, like, for instance, a stencil that's just like this one, like a whole bunch of dots in the background, that's when I'll use the notches. But if I'm doing a focal like you're doing now, I very rarely use the notches, just for the simple fact that the notches were really created for a stencil that is not like a layering stencil like you're doing, because all stencils are created a little bit differently when it comes to layering, because, you know, there are different margins, there are different, different focal areas. So really the tape is what's best, I think, for those types of things. But it's just personal preference. If you try a stencil and like using the notches with the focal stencil, that's great. The great thing about the Blending Buddy is it is so universal. I mean, any stencil fits into those notches. Now, again, there are going to be some stencils that are created with a little bit of a larger margin. And when I have that situation, I just use one set of the notches. The notches are free with purchase. You don't have to use the notches if you don't want to. But sometimes I'll use just the top notches. Sometimes I'll use just the bottom notches, depending on how it lines up. But again, the notches are not necessary for you to blend with.
Okay. And actually, this is probably, since we're not demoing the mini slim version, probably the right time to say that there are not notches on our mini slim version. And that's because the opening is the same size as your stencil. So there's really nowhere to notch it. So you'll need to use tape to hold your stencil down for that particular. Okay, now I decided to do cherry pop on the outside, and now I'm moving back to lemon meringue so we get a little bit of the orange.
We had a question. Belinda says, does the stencil lay flat on the paper when using the Blending Buddy? And the answer to that is, I'm not sure what the question is. So, but I can give you kind of, I guess, a little bit of a better idea of kind of how it works. So the Blending Buddy and the Mini Slim Blending Buddy, you'll notice that the Mylar is a little bit thinner than what a regular stencil generally would be. And the reason for that is we had to take into account what the thickness of your paper will be. So anywhere from an 80-pound up to a 130-pound will fit perfectly and line up, I mean, I guess horizontally would be the correct term, and there will be no lip. So you can kind of feel that it's the perfect size thickness for the paper. And the reason we did that is when you put your stencil on top, we wanted it to seem like the paper and the stencil were one. So I think that your question is, will you see any bumps or ridges when you're using the Blending Buddy with your paper? And the answer is no, because the Blending Buddy was specifically designed to be the same thickness as the paper that you're using underneath of it. I hope that answers it.
Great questions. Looks like somebody's asking, when will we get quad and triple slim sticky mat and Blending Buddy?
Well, you never know. You never know.
That would be pretty big, but doable.
Yeah, we'd almost have to come up with a version that that works kind of in a well. I won't say anything now, but it can be done, and it can be done in a different way than the one that you're seeing now. What we've been working on some different models that actually fold up. So I'll leave it at that. So we've been working with our manufacturer because we do want to do a much larger footprint, but obviously you don't want a stick and stamp mat that, you know, is taking up you know, half of your crafting space, because we do know that some of our crafters, you know, craft at a dining room table, and some of our crafters have a shed in the back that rivals some people's homes. So there's, you know, there's different crafters, and we want to create tools for every single crafter, and a giant stick and stamp mat wouldn't necessarily fit into everybody's footprint. So you'll see we're working on a lot of things behind the scenes.
Cool. I did decide to add a little bit of purple, and this is dried fig that I'm ending with.
Oh, good. I know that I used candy corn was one of the colors that I used because I was so excited that there was a color called candy corn.
I feel like candy corn is one of those polarizing things. Like people either love it or they hate it. I am definitely on the love it end of that. And
the color or the candy?
The actual candy. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I love it too. My mom mixes candy corn and peanuts, and if you eat them together, they taste exactly like a payday.
Ooh, that sounds good. I like to get honey roasted peanuts and put candy corn, and okay, we're going to do this here. Now, I have my blending buddy still attached, which I assume is A-okay. And
yeah,
I can just roll this up. So my stick and stamp mat is at full strength. This is a new one that I just used for product photography. So it did come off with a little bit of pulling, but like Christopher said, that tack will dissipate as you continue to use it more. And then you've protected your entire blending or your stick and stamp mat surface with your blending buddy. So then when you peel this off, all of the ink is left on that blending buddy and not on your stick and stamp mat.
Yep. And I'm glad that you demoed that the way that you did, Taylor, because there are so many folks that, you know, they send us a message and say, you know, I tried to rip it off like a Band-Aid and it didn't work. Well, you don't want to rip your paper off like a Band-Aid whenever you are. If you've spent all of that time blending and you spent all of that time making the perfect card panel, you don't want to at the end, you know, rip it off very quickly. If you are just very patient with pulling the panel off, you will not have any hesitation at all whenever you are peeling it off. Now, again, it is sticky. It's sticky by nature. So you will have a tiny bit of hesitation when you're peeling it off. But when you feel more hesitation, just, you know, gently pull it off. So and you can see Taylor just did, that was a brand new mat.
Yes. Okay. I got to get my, my little protective piece back on before I forget. And then somebody else was saying earlier, I remember now, somebody had a comment that their long-haired cat also loves the stick and stamp mat.
Yeah.
I can just
for that. Yeah. Yes. In that case, you want to leave your squeaky clean matte mist on just a little bit longer. So if you put the matte mist on and you let it sit for a couple of minutes, the hair will actually get caught in, you know, it'll rise up with the matte mist, and then you just kind of wipe it off. Believe me, we are a dog loving company here at Brutus Monroe, and we have been known to get a stray puppy hair on that, and it comes right off.
Well, I will take my dies and cut this down to A2 layer size so that I can center up that design a little bit better. It's not quite perfectly centered, but I do have a couple of simple strips here, and these are our pre-printed simple strips, and I simply foiled them with black foil, which has become one of my favorite new things. It just adds that little bit of, let me see if I can find one that's not foiled. And it might be hard to catch in the video, but here's one that's not foiled on top and then foiled on the bottom. So it's just a little bit shinier, not quite the matte finish of the printed version. So I've been doing that a lot lately. I think that's kind of fun. And then let me bring back this guy. So this is kind of the original version of this card that I made into a square card. This one obviously will be an A2. Now, if you want to attempt something like this, I did do quite a bit of creative masking to get all of these colors in the exact order that they're in. But now that I've tried this version by just going in rainbow order, I think I like it just as well. So if you don't want to spend the hours that it will take you to figure this out, then this is a great option right here. So I will just finish that off into a card at a later time, but I want to give you guys one more chance here to see if you have any other questions for Christopher, and I'll bring myself back on screen here too. So thank you again, friend, for joining
Of course,
today.
absolutely.
Sharing. It was really fun. We were saying before we came on live that we've never done this together before, which is surprising. We've done product collabs before, but we haven't done a live. So
we've never done a launch together. So I think that's what's fun. It's, when you get to actually chat together and talk about the products that we've been talking about for so long with everyone, it's definitely very exciting, because we talk about this stuff behind the scenes constantly, but getting to share it with you is really the most exciting part.
Yes. Okay. Well, I don't see anybody. They're loving your Halloween decor.
Oh, well, take a picture of it, because it's changing as soon as this live is over. It'll be holly jolly in here in about 30 minutes. So there's big nutcrackers coming in and a rainbow Christmas tree. So, I get to enjoy it while it lasts for the next 30 minutes.
And how did your big arch turn out and your fog machines for Halloween last night?
It went very, very, very well. I actually have a video that I can share that I took of it, if anybody is so inclined. It's not professionally queued up, obviously, and it's not a graphic like Taylor has. But I can, if you don't mind, go to my top view camera and show you how it all turned out. So we take trick-or-treating at my house pretty seriously, and everything was set up last evening, and you can see here how the fog was coming out of where the candy was, and I'm trying to figure out where it's at, but yeah, it was the whole neighborhood was full of fog very quickly, but it was definitely a lot of fun, that's for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. And do you dress up?
I do not. I used to dress up, but I feel like it's difficult whenever I'm handing out candy for them to know who's handing out candy and who's grabbing the candy. So I've decided that I would just be dressed up as myself from here on out, because it confuses some of the small kids who's helping.
Yes. Oh, well, it looks like other people had a good night last night. One other good question I thought, somebody said, can you reactivate the sticky when it's gotten unsticky?
Well, we don't recommend using any type of re-sticking things. I know there's a lot of there's Eileen Stick It Again and Pixie Spray and things like that people have talked about. I can tell you that we are working on a product that will refresh your mat, quote unquote. But it is not necessarily a product that is going to refresh the mat in a way that I think you're thinking of. So you'll have to keep your eyes peeled for that. But the real answer right now is there's not really a way to refresh your mat. What I always say is use the Squeaky Clean mat mist, leave it on there for a little bit, gently pull off again, like I showed you with the paper towel, and you'd be surprised how much of the sticky comes back. But if you have completely removed all of your sticky, stay tuned for the early next year for a product that I'm sure Taylor will be carrying as well, because she has a stick and stamp mat. But at the price point, if it loses its sticky, I would just say, grab another one. But don't ever buy just one. I mean, you will use this. If you're using it correctly, it'll take well over 800 to 900 uses for the sticky to start to really, really totally deplete. But I still have my original one that we got from the manufacturer when we first launched it, and it is still very sticky. So as long as you put your clear cover on it, and as long as you clean it properly, it should not remove its sticky, but do not use any harsh scrubbing on it. That will absolutely take the sticky off.
Yes, and my friend Jill, she always says she has one for use and one for backup, and she gets real nervous if she doesn't have her backup. So then when she moves to the backup, she buys another backup. So, yes. Let's see. I've got, somebody said, other than stenciling, what other uses are there for the sticky mat? And I think you touched on this a little bit, but one of my favorite uses has been to use them with clear stamps. Now, those of you who follow TE, you know that we don't do a lot of clear stamps. And I think one of the things that bothers me most about clear stamps is how they pull your paper up with them. When you lift the lid of your stamp positioning tool, your paper often comes with it. And so what I have loved about the stick and stamp mat is that it keeps your paper on the mat and doesn't pull it up when you lift the lid when you're using clear stamps. So put it inside your MISTI. It's sized to fit just perfectly. Or the other stamp positioning tools, I believe it fits in most of them. So I think that's answered.
And it works really great for layering stamps too. So if you have, and I know Taylor has a few different layering clear stamps, I believe. I just saw a recent release, I believe, with like some berries and some leaves, I believe. There was a leaf that you could put the veins on and things like that. So if I believe that was a part of a stencil. Was it a part of, I believe it was like a small clear stamp that was with a stencil. But what you can do is you can set up your stamp positioner where you have those different layers in the four corners. And then all you have to do is turn your mat in order to do all of those different layering pieces. So set yourself up for success. Work smarter, not harder, in the respect of, you can put one layer of the stamp at the top, one layer of the stamp at the bottom, and then you just have to flip your stick and stamp mat, and you can very, very, very quickly create all sorts of different. That's how I did my Christmas cards last year. Is I had a stamp that was 2 layers, and all I had to do once I set it up was just flip my stick and stamp mat vertically, and it worked perfectly. So you'll find once you have the stick and stamp mat that you will figure out a million different ways that you're going to use it, and you will honestly say to yourself, how did I ever not use a stick and stamp mat in my everyday crafting? I mean, I use it every single day when I craft.
I know a lot of other people have shown pictures of the stick and stamp mat with tiny little die cut pieces on it. So if you're putting together, little houses or an elf that has 18 pieces and you want to keep them all together, then you can do a bunch of die cutting and use your stick and stamp mat as a surface to kind of hold all those pieces together. So
absolutely. And it works great for a lot of Taylor's little boxes. I know that there's tons of little boxes and bins and different die cuts that create little envelopes and things like that. You can take the mystery out of where the stamping is going to be by cutting it out first, placing it on your stick and stamp mat, and then stamping it. So there's just so many different ways that you can do that. The same thing with if you're stamping, a sentiment on the front of a little box. Sometimes, it's very, very difficult once you stamp it out to take, an acrylic block and try to stamp it. And then you're like, oh my goodness, I tried to stamp it once and it didn't work. And then forget about trying to hold it in the MISTI with like 16 magnets and, trying to figure out how to just stick it onto your stick and stamp mat. And then it will be in the same place every box that you do. Just stamp it with your MISTI, take it off your stick and stamp mat, and rinse and repeat. It's really, really a dynamic tool that you'll be using all the time.
So we have some requests, maybe something to think about for the future for a stick and stamp mat for the mini MISTI.
It's coming.
Okay.
Yes, it's coming.
Love to hear that.
Yep.
And then we had one more question. Since it is November 1st, someone was asking about our freebie for the month, which I have.
Oh, I want to see it.
And I would love to share it with you. So I'm going to set the camera angles one more time here. So this month's freebie, it's a 2-part freebie. It's kind of fun. We did this clear stamp set. Now that we've been talking about clear stamps, you can't really see the words very well. But this is a clear stamp set called Cardworthy, and included with it is a set of Post-it notes. So the idea is you can stamp these sentiments on your Post-it note. It says, I made this card for you, but feel free to pass it on to someone cardworthy. So the idea is that you can customize your own sticky notes that you can then write your message on and place inside your card, so that the recipient can take the Post-it note out and use the card and send it along. So there are multiple different kind of cute versions. Share the love, pass this card on to a friend. Don't squirrel this card away. Share it with a friend with a cute little squirrel. Let's see. Made you smile, share the joy and pass it on. Enjoy this card and pass the love along with a cute little mailbox. So those are sized to fit at the bottom of the sticky notepad that you get. These are all just blank notes, and you can stamp them in whatever color you want. You can even color the little guys with colored pencils or markers or whatever. So that is the freebie this month with orders of $100 or more. So, all right, let's get back here so that we can say farewell, okay? Have I been just switching around what side we're on? I'm not even sure. Were you on?
I don't know. I just every time I look up, I'm just happy that I'm still framed. I'm just happy that I'm still there.
You've stayed center. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, thank you again for joining us, Christopher. Hopefully this won't be the last time, and we can keep collabing on fun products and bringing more to the craft world. So
absolutely. Yes. That's the plan. It's been my absolute pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Bye from Christopher and I.
Bye-bye.